Welcome to ET with GOTB. The Barclays WSL is back, baby. Let's get into it. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. The top two leagues returned with a bang this weekend. Maybe a couple of surprise results littered here and there. Some exciting games, that's for sure. 3 glorious days of football across the weekend, which I very much enjoyed. Maybe not every game lived up to
the hype,
but, you know, we will get to that. Firstly, though...
I didn't really enjoy my 9-hour round trip.
Okay, well, you can complain about that when we get to that game, because I need to give the people the reminders, the important stuff, the admin. The
important stuff.
Your reminder to subscribe wherever you watch, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and do make sure you're following us across all of our socials. We're at Girls on the Ball. You can also subscribe to us on Substack. We have shared our kind of key things we learned from this weekend today, and we have a couple of other things coming out during the week as well. And there are 2 options. There is paid and there is free. So there is options for both, but we would love to have you over there as well. Okay, it was definitely a weekend for the debutants, and there were plenty of them. As I said, almost every game delivered. And we're going to run through the results, touch on a couple of key areas in matches. We always say that we're going to be like short, sharp and like, you know, quick and sweet, and it never really quite as short and sharp as we would like it to be. We're going to try and do this again this season. We'll see how well we get on. I blame you most of the time because
I don't get to talk about it anywhere else. I just have to talk about it to you.
I think it's your fault that it goes on as long as it does.
Sure.
But we'll do our very best.
Well, my fascinating insight isn't good enough.
I have tape. I have video footage of where I didn't say that. We're going to bring back Sophie's Spotlight moment.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring back Player of the Week as well. So obviously Sophie's Spotlight moment doesn't have to be a player. It can be a player. It can be a move, a tactic, anything like that, a setup, whatever. Something that you want to shine a little spotlight on. So get your thinking cap on now, because you often complain when I remind you of this every week.
Well, it's not been every week now because it's at the beginning.
Yeah, still. Okay. Barclays WSL 1. Here's how it ended. Chelsea 2, Manchester City 1. Aki Beaver-Jones, Hermano and Charles with an own goal. Arsenal 4, London City Lionesses 1. Aslani, Smith, Kelly, Blackstenius and Monum with the goals. Manchester United 4, Leicester 0. Toon, Turland and Mallard with a brace. Liverpool 1, Everton 4. Capox, Vignola with a hat-trick and Snoyce getting the goals there. Tottenham 1, West Ham 0. Bethany England with the penalty. And Brighton 0, Aston Villa 0. This is how obviously the table then looks on the first weekend, which feels kind of pointless, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's the format. Manchester United fans will be wanting to call the count now. They are up on top with 3 points on goal difference. Arsenal, Everton, Chelsea and Spurs follow them below, also on 3 points. And it means Villa and Brighton are in the middle of the board with 1 point and the rest below on 0. We were at 4 of the games between us this weekend.
I think like starting slowly.
Well, the first 2 were okay because the first 2 were in London, but yeah, then the split was complicated and difficult for you. But to be fair, you probably got one of the games of the weekend.
I did, yes.
You saw an awful lot of goals this weekend as well.
I did.
We will start briefly with the first game kicking us off under the lights at Stamford Bridge on Friday, and it was Chelsea against Manchester City, which we were very excited for. I think it did deliver. It might not have been like the absolute best football we've seen from both teams, but I do think it was a engaging, entertaining affair. My 3 points that we can elaborate on: Manchester City's setup, Ellie Carpenter, and maybe City's winger injuries as well. But firstly, obviously Chelsea setting up in that back 3, which Manchester City I think struggled with, given they had, I'm going to come into one long bit in the middle here, given it had Alex Greenwood left back and Lauren Hemp on the right and Lily Murphy on the left.
Yeah, I think there was some surprise, certainly in the press room, when they saw, actually not even in the press room because you don't see the lineup and the formation, but when they lined up in the press box, like at the beginning of the game, and we saw Lauren Hemp on the right side of the front 3. We're like, okay, that's interesting. I think. So he said in post-match, Andre Jeglet said in post-match that they want to have a variety of different ways of attacking. And it means that you don't just rely on crossing the ball and that you can come through central areas. And Lauren will play more on the run, she's very good on the left, but will have opportunities on the right because she comes in and can create there. I don't think it worked, personally. I don't understand why he didn't change it when it wasn't working. I think she didn't really have an impact much on the game. Even in the second half when they were, getting better and stronger. And yes, they created quite a lot of opportunities, 17 shots.
Well,
they
had Chelsea.
But none of them were really I would like to see the number of good quality shots, because it didn't really feel like they were. It was a bit of a surprise when I saw the stats at the end of the game, because it didn't feel like they were bombarding Chelsea's goal.
No, but
They did. No. They had big chances.
But they did have big chances.
Yeah, like the Hasser one just after the break. Viv Miedema had one.
Bunny Shaw had two options.
A couple of
Alex
efforts.
Greenwood hit the crossbar.
Yes. But I think, so I was a bit and the problem was when we get to Ellie Carpenter as well, is that Lily Murphy, she's a great youngster, she's got quality, but I don't think defending is a forte. And she was leaving Alex Greenwood so exposed on that left back. And the problem was that I think for the goal, the Aggie Beaver-Jones goal, Captain had already beaten Murphy come inside, spread it out to Ellie Carpenter as a wing back, and she was just running at Alex Greenwood at pace, who was almost running backwards. Mm-hmm. So she has to speed and momentum on her to get past her. And that was happening several times throughout. The balance was just a bit off, I think. And they just didn't really do anything to fix it. He made one change. Well, no, he made more than one change, but he made his first change in the 77th minute. And that just felt really, really late. And then it just doesn't really affect the play. And while they got one back and while they created chances, you always thought Chelsea were going to win that game.
Chelsea looked comfortable, but Manchester City did create. But it looked like a team a front three, maybe we'll include Viv, a four, that hadn't really played together that often and were finding their way back to each other, versus a team who were very comfortable with each other and always knew exactly where each other was, which was impressive given debutante Ellie Carpenter was new, was starting a tough start. We did say we were chatting about this in the WhatsApp group throughout the game and at halftime, just saying it's criminal that you don't start a Lauren Hemp up against Ellie Carpenter in her first game.
Lauren Hemp is so potent on that left side. We've seen her time and time again do what she can do, and it's a really focal point of City's ability to attack. And she also does that defensive cover work, but she would also pin. You would have expected her to pin Ellie Carpenter back a bit. Ellie Carpenter would have a free roam of that sideline, and just to be able to take off it with the incredible pace that she has, she would have to think about Lauren Hemp doing the same to her on the other side. So I think he got that wrong. It's probably a work in progress. I think part of it is because of the personnel he had available. Carolyn and Fagino were out, which meant he couldn't start them on the right side. So he was probably adapting to that a bit. And I would imagine when Carolyn's back that she slots into that right side, and then Lauren Hemp makes the move over to the left again. But
and perhaps we see Alex in the central defensive pairing and Ohabi out on the left side. I just think that would have been a better change, even if they changed it partway through the game.
I think Greenwood's problem is in the World Cup, in the Euros, she did have the defensive cover of either Hemp or Kelly. And Lauren James was actually very good at defending as well, tracking back. She was left so exposed in the first game of the season, her first game back, by someone with the pace of Ellie Carpenter and the quality of Ellie Carpenter. And I just think it was just a bit too much.
Yeah.
Just needed a bit more defensive-ness.
A wonderful first display for Ellie Carpenter. She slotted right in, looked like she'd been playing with the team for years, and a brilliant debut for her, and shows what a weapon she is going to be for Chelsea, particularly playing in that back three with Sandy Baltimore on the left wing. So that was super impressive from her, and great for Chelsea to see, particularly given they're covering that Lucy Bronze injury. Jägerlitz did say that he learned a lot from it, which I think he will do. I also think, I know you perhaps said they weren't as dynamic as you would have liked, but I think they were at times more dynamic than what we've seen from a previous City side, who often like to recycle the ball and pass it around the back and put a foot in the ball and slow the game down.
They're more front-footed.
And it just didn't feel like that. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But all in all, Chelsea look like they've just never had a summer break. Like they're just absolutely...
I mean, mentality was there. Aggie Beaver-Jones scored at Stamford Bridge. She last scored at Stamford Bridge in the league. So all of them picking up where they left off.
And Hamano's goal as well. Like, she was just wide open. So I think
Hamano was brilliant.
She was brilliant, but I also think that's an area that, just that tightness, that sharpness, that being a bit more switched on to the dangers. I think Chelsea have so many weapons, and I say that word so much, but it's an effective word. It's a useful word, I think, to describe them. But they're hard to keep track of, and I just think City's.
The problem for City at playing them at this time of year is, especially with a new manager, they're still figuring the puzzle out.
Yeah.
And against Chelsea, you can't figure any puzzle out.
And players are still coming back to match fitness.
And I know the same that applies to Chelsea too in terms of match fitness stuff.
But I mean, players within the City squad haven't played with City for a long time, is what I'm getting at. I know there's internationals in there, and Hemp and Greenwood have played with England, but they haven't played with City for a while.
Injuries last year.
Miedema hasn't, Shaw hasn't, and you could see that the ideas were there, but they weren't clinical and sharp enough yet. So we'll see how that progresses. Next up, it was Arsenal against newbies London City Lionesses at the Emirates on Saturday afternoon. London City Lionesses had closed the transfer window with a record-breaking 1.4 million for Grace Georo. Brilliant signing from PSG, huge signing for them. And she was in the stands to watch them take on the European champions, Arsenal. My key points: slow opening 20 minutes from Arsenal. I'll get your thoughts on what you made of London City Lionesses' first game. And then, of course, the strength of Arsenal's depth. So Chloe Kelly spoke about it with you post-match, that they were London City Lionesses were setting up in a 3, and they were switching from a 3 at the back to 4 at the back, which Arsenal took a little bit of time to work out. And I was impressed with the competitiveness of that opening 20 minutes from London City Lionesses. The penalty was unfortunate because Katie Reid had made a very good tackle initially and then kind of lunged, and it was just clear cut penalty.
Inexperience, I think.
Yeah. But cool to see London City Lionesses get their first goal in front of a packed-out stadium, and that was history made by Aslani. But then it felt like once Olivia Smith, speaking of debutantes, another incredible debut from her, once she got that goal back. And if you haven't seen that goal, please go and watch it back. It was fantastic. It was very much Arsenal on the front foot then, I thought.
It was. They got control. They were trying to work out how to press and operate around London City's structure, I think, in the first 20 minutes. And actually, I think what was more off was perhaps they were just sloppy in the passing and possession side of things. Once they tidied that up and the goal gave them such a boost, then they really just kicked on and kicked forward. I think they have such a good success with that high press of theirs, and you saw that especially in the second half. I think it was really, the way that they can win the ball up high, the energy with which they press. It's really like a defining feature of this Arsenal team that we've known for the last year, especially under Renee Slegers. And they looked really good. The strength and depth that they had as well is crazy. In terms of the attacking strength and depth, they have depth and defence too. I do think, it was interesting that she went with Katie Reid. I do think it was for I really like it. I think it's giving her so much confidence. And I think despite the penalty, she had an absolutely superb game. But I think it was more down to the height with Isabel Goodwin. And
yes, because it did feel like any time there was a throw-in, there was no point in Arsenal even contesting it, because every single time London City Lionesses, when it was on that left side particularly, were like, where is she? Give it her. No one's getting it off
Goodwin
her.
Is incredibly tall. And they needed someone with those aerial abilities to be able to deal with her. And I guess the pace, I think there was a couple in the first half where Isabel took off or got running. She is, pretty nifty. And Katie Reid was able to stick with her all the way. So I think she marshalled her pretty well. In terms of London City, I think we might disagree a little bit, but I was a little bit... It's understandable. They've had 17 signings. There's not going to be cohesion immediately.
17, isn't that crazy?
They have to figure out how to play with each other, but I don't think they offered very much at all.
I said the opening 20 minutes, first of all. And there were moments where they were down the other. They started better. They were in Arsenal's half more than Arsenal were in their half.
The start was,
which was impressive.
After Arsenal equalised, they didn't know how to.
Which is what I said.
Respond.
So don't disagree.
No, but when you raised your eyes when I said it the other day, that I didn't think they were very good at all.
I think their lack of experience showed in the way that Arsenal scored 2 goals in 2 minutes, because up until then it was 2-1. and anything could have happened. And you could have had, Imran hit the inside of the woodwork. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's an example of Arsenal sometimes not putting a game to bed and creating and not putting them in the back of the net. Beth Mead came on and changed that. Like an amazing kind of 2 assists in as many minutes. And the substitutions did that. And I think that was a big impact of Arsenal's depth as well. But I think factoring in that they were coming up against Arsenal at the Emirates, first game, and as you touched on, one of the most intense presses in the game. I thought for a good portion of the game, they didn't look terrible.
I don't mean like in a necessarily like really bad way, but I just think it shows that even if you bring a group of superstars together,
oh sure,
it's not going to happen overnight. And there is stuff to work on, and in terms of being able to react, and there's a lot of experience on that pitch, and there's a lot of know-how, but like learning how each other play and how to react to certain situations, and when it suddenly goes backwards or downhill, what do you do about that? I think they relied. I'm not sure their system quite worked. I thought Arsenal did really well at targeting their right side, so the duo of Kennedy and Fernandes down that right. And there was a lot of space there that McCabe, Catley at times was pushing forward. Mariona Caldente was in there at times. And then, of course, Chloe Kelly in the first half. And then the goal from Olivia Smith came from that side because she cut inside from that side and into the space.
Yes, I was going to say, though, I do think Imran on that left back position when she was there, I was going to say I actually was quite impressed with her at the beginning.
Maybe left side,
maybe it's because she was in front of me and I feel like I saw her more, but numerous times she was able to stop the flow of Fox and Smith, which I was quite impressed with, so I wanted to shout her out. Anyway, not a hugely surprising result, 4-1, and Arsenal will be delighted.
It was a potential hurdle, because you just don't know what London City were going to do. They had to get over that hurdle, and it would be some Arsenal teams of old would fall at that hurdle. So they did well to, I think, get that one under their belt. They've extended their 4 goals or more streak, so it's a good start for them to build on.
Okay, next up, we're going to go to the Merseyside derby. Liverpool 1, Everton 4. You were at this one, Soph. Liverpool absolutely dominated the first half, went ahead through a wonderful goal from Capox in front of the Kop, conveniently. A brilliant goal. I was messaging you throughout and you were saying that Liverpool were absolutely on top. Everton couldn't get a foothold in the game, it seemed. And yet, Liverpool went in 2-1 down at half-time. And then Everton came out and just completely dominated the second half. It was cliche, but very much a game of two halves. And another debutante, Ornella Vignola, having an unbelievable game and scoring a hat-trick. And that first goal was incredible. The header was unreal, and then topped it off with a hat-trick. What a start for her. But what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, kind of said it, but I think Liverpool were really, really good in the first half. I think it's a case of trying to keep it up under Gareth Taylor. I think there are some problems. Like Kerry Holland played well. They were targeting the right side. Her and Sam Kerr were coming out and doing the combinations, and they were getting a lot of joy against Maz Pacheco, who sometimes got caught high and got, a bit stuck out of position. So they were having a lot of space to run into. All of the crosses came, other than the goal, all of the crosses almost came in from that side. So they were on it. But I just still think that Kerry Holland is a fabulous player, but I'm not sure she fills the hole. Well, she doesn't fill the hole that's left by Olivia Smith. Sure. That kind of speedy, pacey forward that they were built around last year is just not there at the moment. So they're going to have to figure that one out, because I don't know long term if that will always work as well as it did in the first half. I think they will rue their chances. There was a brilliant save from Courtney Brosnan, fingertip onto the bar.
From a Gemma Bonner sliding.
Yeah, to keep it at 1-0. And then, Liverpool had chances. They had many chances in that first half. But when it got presented to Everton to take it, they were so clinical with it. And Ornella was, brilliant. My favourite goal is her first one. I think that's just a superb way, not just superb initiative to start running from where you were. The ball from Hayley Ladd was brilliant as well. But to come aside and turn the defender like that and the finish. But she said in post-match that it was a header because she doesn't score many headers. So.
It was a bullet of a header as well.
Yeah.
And I was just going to touch on, obviously she had a fantastic game, but for Maz Pacheco, who really struggled in the first half, was getting done every single time and having a a tough afternoon, which she finished near the end with of the first half with a corner that she kicked straight out, and it just kind of summarised her afternoon. I don't know what Brian Sorensen said at half time, but came out then.
It was that assist before the.
I was about to say she had an assist before half time, and maybe that boosted her a little bit. But whatever Brian Sorensen said to the team more generally, they just completely dominated, and she came alive in the second half and added another assist, and that will do her the world of good. But
I think I asked Brian about Maz, and I was saying how, she had a bit of a tough first half, and he's like, a bit tough, but he was also like, it wasn't just her, it was like the team leaving her vulnerable, and then she was struggling, and then when she keeps getting run at and beaten, that's like that you can drop your heads, but he was like the whole character of her to come back in that second half and do what she did and produce the 2 assists, just show what she's like as a player. And you have to remember, she hasn't played much football at all in the last 12 months or
and
so.
she is new to the team.
So she's new to the team. They're learning. I think Brian Sorensen was very smart in the changes he made at half-time. He brought on Wheeler, Karen Holmgaard and Ruby Mace, and that just allowed them to control the ball, control possession. They had no control of the ball in the first half, and he just made those switches, a few tactical switches as well, to ensure the fullbacks got cover as well. I thought one thing, Rian Ishikawa, the new central defender, is like a presence. She is very, very good. She will be very, very good.
And you just mentioned her there, what a signing Ruby Mace was on deadline day for Everton. What a coup for them. I think they've done a very good bit of business during the transfer window.
One more fact.
Go on.
Because shout out to Megan Faringa from The Athletic for this. But she was dazzling us all in the mix zone with her stats about Everton. So Onea became the first player, man or woman, to score a hat-trick in a Merseyside derby since Dixie Dean in 1931. And as the first woman player to ever do it.
Well done. What a debut. It really is a weekend of debutantes. Okay, moving on to maybe the least surprising result of the weekend, Manchester United 4, Leicester 0. We weren't at this one, but as I said, probably the least surprising result. I think given Manchester United have kind of kicked off their season already, got a couple of wins under their belt in the Champions League, in the early stages of the Champions League, and then are coming in against a Leicester side who are lacking in players, probably lacking in a bit of leadership. I know Rick Passmore has been brought in temporarily to fill the gap of Amandine Miguel as they figure out what to do with the managing situation. They've lost Ruby Mace on the last day of the season. So I imagine very different dressing rooms and very different preparations for both teams coming into this game. So for me, it wasn't a huge surprise that they dominated the game.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote earlier, the result wasn't a surprise, and you're not surprised United dominated, but I think the problem for Leicester is the manner of it. I think it just felt so dominant, and that's such a tough way to start the season. They're having to basically build stuff again with 11 days. Well, Miguel sacked at 11 days before. Rick Passmore comes in 3 days before. Mm-hmm. They get a bunch of incomings on deadline day, but they're going to take time. They haven't trained with the team. They're going to take time to figure it out and settle in. And then eventually, when a new manager comes in, things are going to change a bit again. So it's, even though Rick will be part of the coaching team, it's just a really tough start. And they've got who do they have next? Liverpool. And they will be, if they want to secure, they need to be winning those kind of games against Liverpool. You can imagine Liverpool will be in and around that area. So that's going to be a really important game, and I just struggle to see how they pick themselves up from being so dominated. Yeah.
Conversely, Manchester United's front line absolutely on firing form. Ella Toone opened the scoring as well, very poignantly, a year on from her dad's passing. So to see her score first goal of the season as well was a wonderful.
Do you remember in the Euros when she was like, I like this Ella Toone?
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like the old me, and I think she's picked that back up again. She's playing with a smile on her face. She could have had 3 or 4 goals. She had the assist as well. She was everywhere. She was pulling the strings. I think she recorded 100 touches on the ball. So really, really influential, and they're going to need her, going into the season, and they don't have a lot of depth, so they are going to need their key players to stand up and perform.
And someone else who stood up is, of course, Elizabeth Turland. I feel like now it's not a Manchester United win without Turland scoring goals. I think she's going to be key for them this season, absolutely, which is exactly
and when
what
you have a striker like her in the box, anything can happen.
Exactly. And then you add in Melvin Mallard, who's also on firing form, getting a brace. She could have had more.
I'm still so confused how she didn't get any real opportunity with France properly in the summer. Because
France is going to France, isn't it?
She came in she was on fire, and she had a really good season. Despite being, not always starting, but she had every time she played, she looked dangerous. And then she was on fire in the friendlies and the build-up.
And the sevens.
And the sevens. And then she just didn't really, she featured a bit, but not prominently, I think. She certainly wasn't in the starting 11. And, that does surprise me because she is in some...
Well, it didn't knock her confidence. She's come back in fine form, and I think again important given they've got SK Brann coming up, two-legged match.
This week is going to be a real test for them.
It is in terms of managing minutes, managing players.
They travel to Bergen on Thursday. They play London City away on Sunday. They play Brann at home the following Thursday, and then they play Arsenal on Sunday.
Yeah.
Both at home, but it's still suddenly a lot of football, and they've got a small squad. They had 4 outfield players or something.
Yeah, it'll be a good test for them, but I think winning a game 4-0 is exactly what you need, before you head off. And perhaps if they can continue that form, they maybe give themselves a bit of a cushion in the first leg. That's what they'll want to do anyway. So, and then the other thing regarding Leicester, as we touched on already, losing Ruby Mace, what a big loss that was for them right at the end of the transfer window. Okay, coming up to the final 2, probably most exciting games of the weekend. I say that with a huge amount of sarcasm. Tottenham 1, West Ham 0. It was hard to choose which one to talk about first, but hey, Tottenham had a goal. So from the sounds of it, as I said, not the most exciting. I was keeping an eye on this one throughout my game, and I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm actually probably not going to watch this one back. Spurs scoring from their only shot on target, which was a penalty. Katerina Gori bringing down, can't remember who she brought down, but it was Bethany England who stepped up to score that goal, which is just what they needed right kind of at the death. Was 86th minute. You'd be raging if you're West Ham, despite not creating many on target. West Ham, they were creating, and there was this insane kind of goal mouth scramble early on that came from a Vivian Asai corner, I think it was. How it didn't go in, I need to watch it back again, because it was one of those where you're just like, it's in, she'll put it in, it's fallen to her, it's gone. So I don't know how, and I think sometimes when those moments happen and you don't score it must just kind of eat away at you a little bit. And I do think this has become a bit of a thing at West Ham at the beginning of seasons.
They take a while to
take a while to get into gear, and they kind of, I don't know, it's like one of those planes where you kind of have to wind it, and you've got all the bits and pieces, but they haven't fully got everything, propellers going yet to actually get them moving. So they'll be annoyed about that one, because I think games like that, and you touched on it with the likes of Leicester and Liverpool, games like that, they need to be picking up points.
Yeah, that's why you want to, and for Martin Ho to get 3 points despite not creating a lot, is big. They won't go overboard, because they'll remember last season when they beat Palace 4-0 and then went on to have the season they had. So there won't be any complacency there. They'll know it was tight and
they didn't
pretty rough
much.
game. Didn't create much, and they'll need to do better. But 3 points on the board, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. Okay, finally, Brighton versus Aston Villa. I hyped this game up way too much, so maybe it's my fault, and I'll take the blame for that. But I was kind of expecting, there was drama to a degree. It felt a little bit transitional in the first half. I thought Brighton had the better of it, but as a photographer, it felt like a lot of the game was kind of played in the middle of the pitch, because I just didn't seem to get very much, and I kind of carried on a bit into the second half. Villa expectantly maybe with less of the ball and created less, but when they did go forward, they looked dangerous on the transition, which I think is what we're going to see from this Villa side. How the thing that had the most action in the game was the bloody goalposts and crossbars, because I think both teams hit them twice. Lynn Willems hitting, I think it was a crossbar, really near the end of the game as well. So in terms of drama, there were moments where it was like, oh my God, how's it not gone in? Michelle Adjumang cut a frustrated figure as well, her, Madison Haley, Kiko Seika. They look an exciting front three with Fran Kirby in behind. It's there. It's a bit like Man City, where you're like, okay, I can see what you're trying to do, but it's just not sharp enough yet.
Yeah, they dominated the attacking stats from what I saw. Aston Villa marshalled them very well, defended really well, which is maybe not something that you necessarily thought of when you think of a Natalia Roy team. Not because they don't defend well, but because they are so like, let's get the ball forward.
Yeah.
So that they did pretty well, and I think she said she was quite proud with that. And for them, getting a point away from home on the opening day isn't bad at all. I think for Brighton, they'll be disappointed that they couldn't make their attacking dominance count. They're obviously playing the style of football that Dario Vidicic wants them to play. They're possessing the ball. They're not giving too much away in terms of, they're getting their passes together and everything and forward passes, but it's just that final end product, I guess, that they need to work out.
It's interesting what you say, though, about how Natalia Royal, they like to play forward and not kind of dilly-dally around the back too much. And you can see that in the stats. Backward passes for Aston Villa, 38. Backward passes for Brighton, 67. So
she's very,
front-footed.
They call it vertical football. They go straight.
Yeah, it's a bit like there's defending from the front and there's attacking from the back, and it does feel a bit like they're attacking from the back type.
There's no messing around with it. Their aim is to get it to their wide players or Rachel Daly as quickly as possible. And
Rachel Daly did have chances. It's that kind of, maybe it's just players getting their head back into match play again, of this taking shots when it's going to be blocked. Stuff like that where you're just like, actually, with a few more matches under your belt, you think, I'll take a touch and pass it out, instead of just going, maybe if I hit it hard enough to go through the player. So there was quite a few of those moments for both sides where they were just like, fuck it, I'm just going to hit it and see what happens. And of course it was blocked. But another debutante, there was quite a few debutantes, of course, Nadozie in goal. Now she had the same number of saves as Sab D'Angelo and Ellie Roebuck, who switched at halftime. D'Angelo made a couple of saves that involved, coming together with a couple of Brighton players, and she wasn't able to continue. So it was wonderful to see Ellie Roebuck back in the WSL and back on the pitch as well. But yeah, Nadozie was Brighton's player of the match. Michelle Adjumang was the BBC's. So it was definitely a Brighton player that was coming out of that. But Nadozie will be glad to get her first game under her belt, have a few saves to make. I still think she flaps a little bit in the air sometimes and maybe punches more than she should, but she'll be pleased that they didn't concede. And that was probably the most exciting bit of the game. I was expecting like a 4-3 or something. Do you know what I mean? Very little action. Okay, player of the week for you.
I mean, it changed throughout the weekend, but I don't think you can look past Onea. 20 years old, get a hat-trick on your debut, announce yourself to the league like that, score in the manner that you did. She scored every single shot that she had. 3 out of 3 went in the back of the net. So pretty good return and clinical. But I'm excited to see what she can do.
Everton must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I mean, Brian was he's so,
I've never seen him look so happy.
He's so jovial this season.
He's just delighted.
He's just very, very happy. And he was making jokes, and he was asked if he had expected that, and he was like, 3 goals? No, of course not, but I did expect her to score because I put her in the starting lineup. But yeah, he was very happy. Also, he becomes the first manager of either men's or women's team to win 4 straight against Liverpool.
Wow. Also, shout out, Brian, to your hoodie. Sophie was very jealous.
I was very jealous, but I was very concerned it was getting very rained on. So I was very pleased to see the jacket almost at halftime.
This is the insight you guys are looking for. Okay, Sophie's standout moment of the week.
I'm going to go with Olivia Smith's goal. I think it was a really smart change of setup from Arsenal. They switched Kelly and Smith. Smith wasn't getting actually a lot of joy down the right. Imran was doing pretty well at handling her, but she switched out to the left, and literally within 5 minutes she had that goal, and it was a real bit of magic, cutting aside into the space, beating Perez in the midfield, and then having that space and just to curl it home the way she did. And I was watching her, and I've watched her a lot, of course. I don't know why at the Emirates it was just even clearer how good she is. Like, her feet just go so fast. When she's doing those stepovers and everything, it's just rapid. So yeah.
Very good. Okay, I realised I was going to say, I realised I forgot to mention the team of the week, and I see you've already done it without me even asking you. So props to Sophie. Would you like to quickly run through your team of the week?
Yeah, if people
like it, it's our team of the week. If people don't like it, it's your team of the week.
So it's basically on what I've seen, but also So Nadozie in goal, Carpenter, of course, right back. Ishikawa at centre back alongside Janssen, who had a very good game for United. And I put Maz Pacheco in there just because I was really impressed by the way that she came back from having a real rough start and getting those 2 assists. Her second half performance was really impressive. I was struggling for a 6, so I put Yui Hasegawa in there because I thought she actually was given the freedom to get forward as well. So she was doing what she normally does, but she was actually near the box more than she normally is, I think.
We'll just point out that is because of Lohman, and I really like what they're doing with Hasegawa and Lohman, giving both a little bit of time, manoeuvring to forward and back. I like that. I've
put Hermano in there. I thought she had a really good game. She was really bright in the press. Ellerton, of course, for what she did. Olivia Smith, Ornea up front, and then Melvin Mallard on the left.
Very nice. I like that.
I'm sure there's discussions to be had. I was discussing with myself internally. So.
Right. Well, let us know what you think. Who would be your team of the week? Who would have made it? Okay, we're going to quickly run through Barclays WSL 2 results. Sheffield United 0, Sunderland 4, Southampton 4, Ipswich Town 0, Birmingham City 5, Bristol City 1, Charlton Athletic 1, Crystal Palace 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 2, Portsmouth 0, Durham 2. Again, very early table, but it looks like this. Birmingham on top with that big goal haul.
Emphatic, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Southampton, Sunderland, Durham, Newcastle and Charlton follow behind, all on 3 points, with no draws in the opening weekend. The rest of the teams are on 0. You must be feeling pretty vindicated because last week, when you'd originally put Bristol up in your top 3, you dropped them then to 4.
I mean, it's a long way to go.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I think that's a statement of intent from Birmingham City about what they intend to do. Like Bristol City will be up and around there. This season. I thought Newcastle getting that win over Nottingham Forest, good signs for Forest, but Newcastle getting that 3 points is key. They will be fighting up there too, so I'm excited to see how it pans out.
Any other business you want to touch on before we wrap this one up? Anything we've forgotten? Any big moments?
My 9-hour drive?
No, you already mentioned that. You don't get another go at that. I think that's kind of everything, isn't it?
I think we covered it all.
We have got next weekend West Ham versus Arsenal on Friday. We're going to do that one. We're hoping to do London City Lionesses versus Manchester United, but we're still not sure in terms of accreditation whether we will be. But we're going to give that one a go. Otherwise, Aston Villa, you said?
Yeah.
Chelsea? We shall see. Sophie's got us booked into something on the Sunday night, so she wants to stay close to home. But yes, we will be coming to you from at least 2 games next weekend. We'll do a live on Saturday, because we got Saturday off, which is very exciting. And then we'll be back again the following week with another episode.
You made that sound a lot more mysterious than it was.
What?
Being booked into something on a Sunday night.
We're going out on Sunday night. It's not that mysterious. If you make sure you subscribe, you won't miss any of that. We've got some more articles and bits and pieces coming out throughout the week as well. Otherwise, we'll be back next week to delve into all the action. Chat to you then.